me on, and today I'm going to talk to you about a rover that I designed for a future crewed lunar base. So we're going to the moon. NASA wants to bring people back to the moon by 2027, and by 2035, we could have people living on the moon. But that poses a lot of issues because humans have a lot of issues living in space. If you look at this video of an astronaut who dropped a box, you'll notice he can't really bend over at the hips. He can't even reach the box. He needs to get down on the ground to pick it up, and he eventually tumbles over and falls. And that's just one of the many issues with living in space. One, lunar dust will get everywhere. It'll get on your suit, in your suit. It'll get into the habitat, and it'll make breathing difficult. There's about 85 times more cosmic radiation on the moon than there is here on Earth, which can have adverse effects on astronauts over time. And spacesuits, as we just saw, are very restrictive to the astronauts, which is why I designed a lunar rover that could perform jobs for the astronauts and make their lives a lot easier. So a big part of the design are the robotic arms. Each one is about 10 kilograms and about 2 meters in length. And both arms together could lift about a ton of material on the moon in lunar gravity. Now it's the two arms because, yes, there are two arms instead of one. And some of the benefits of this is that you can do a lot more than you could with just one. For example, you could hold a panel in place with one arm and drill it in with the other. You could hold a lunar surface sample with one arm and analyze it with the other, or you could hold a very large piece of cargo, for example, this book, and control the rotation of it, which you can't do with one arm, which gives it a lot more versatility. And another benefit of two arms is just like a human on a tightrope, you kind of put your arms out and try to balance. This rover can do the same and adjust its own center of gravity to balance better in the lunar terrain. Another unique part of this design are the robotic hands. So they're modular. So you can replace the hands of the robot with any device, any tool you want. So instead of being locked into doing one or two specific tasks, like most rovers are today, you can do a variety of tasks, which will be very useful on a new lunar outpost. So about the wheels, it uses a rocker bogie mechanism. It's been used before by NASA. And this allows for the rover to tilt 45 degrees in any direction without falling over. It would have an average speed of about 2 kilometers per hour, which seems kind of slow, but compared to current rovers, most don't even make it past half a kilometer per hour. So this is pretty fast by rover standards. Now, as for power, we're using a nuclear power system. And the reason we're not using solar, which is the most common, is on the moon, there's a 14-day day-night cycle. So 14 days of daytime, 14 days of nighttime. So for 14 days, you have zero sunlight hitting your solar panels, which is just not reliable. Half the year, you don't have any power, which means nuclear is a very stable and reliable power source, which is why I went for it for this design. Now, the rover will be operated by astronauts on the base in real time by teleoperation. Now, there are four operational modes. Idling, which basically lets the rover charge. Full operation, where every system gets equal power. Heavy lifting, where obviously the arms get more power for heavy loads. And rough terrain, where the wheels get more power for, well, rough terrain. On the right, you can see a sample schedule of what a day in the life of the rover could look like. So you can see it idles during the night while the astronauts are sleeping. And during the day, it can cycle through different operational modes as it does jobs. And then at night, it'll idle again to charge for the next day. So the total weight of this rover will be about 291 to 314 kilograms, which is within current industry limitations, weight limitations for lunar landers. So Astrobotic's Griffin lander claims it can take 625 kilograms to the moon. So this rover fits within those limitations. The Perseverance rover, which is on Mars right now, has proven that autonomous navigation is possible on other planets, on other bodies. So this rover could potentially autonomously navigate to different locations, and then the astronauts could take over and perform whatever job needs to be done there. Now, an example of a robotic arm controlled by astronauts is the Canadarm2, which is on the ISS, and this does many jobs around the ISS, and it's just more proof that astronauts will be able to control this rover in real time. So I took this rover design and wrote a research paper about it and got it published in a peer-reviewed high school journal. So experts actually looked at my paper, they sent me revision notes, and they basically gave it the okay to be published, which meant I had to run all the calculations, all the statistics you saw, I calculated and proved that all the systems in this rover will actually work and be feasible in real life. So for the next steps of this project is like an overview of how all the systems of this rover will come together as a whole. But in the future, what it needs is more development of each individual subsystem. So for example, the actual docking mechanism for the robotic hands, or maybe how the inside of the nuclear reactor would look, which would require a team of people who have more expertise. So if I were to continue working on this project, that's where I would probably go. So thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions for me and Nior, Our contacts will be in the Notion page that is sent out after this meeting.
Yeah.
Do you want to say something?
Also, you know, I mean, we do have 3 minutes. If you guys want to ask us questions right now,